Good morning or afternoon. My name is Kim and welcome to Naturally Kim's Knitting. I want to give a big welcome to all my long-standing viewers. Welcome back. I love you all. And I want to welcome any new viewers that happen to come along today. I will give you a little warning that today may not be one of my better episodes. I'll explain that in a minute. But to my new viewers, I love you too. I would like to have anybody who views this go over to my Ravelry page and please sign in, introduce yourselves, just tell me your name and where you're from. I'd like to get an idea of who the viewers are that have started watching this. And I do have a few regulars. I just don't know who you are. I'm assuming they're regulars. So please, and if you do that, I'll give you a shout out at the introduction. I will be glad to put you in drawings for things. Now, a little bit about why this may not be the best episode. I went to the doctor yesterday because I have arthritis, as I've mentioned before, but my thumbs have been getting worse and worse. And so I went to the doctor yesterday to ask him, okay, what can be done for my thumbs? Well, unless you want more pain, you really shouldn't go to the doctor about arthritis pain because they find exactly the joint that is bugging you and they manipulate it. And then he goes, well, there's two routes that we could go with you. He goes, let's first start off with a shot in the joint. And he goes, those sometimes last up to a year. Well, unfortunately, I've never had success with these shots, but okay, I will do it because it's the best way to go. Because otherwise, it's surgery. And he was explaining the surgery to me. Well, but in the meantime, I always thought it was this knuckle that gives me a headache. No, no, no. It's clear. Okay, sorry. It's clear down here. It's not this one. It's clear down here. And he manipulated it a little bit, and then he found just the wrong place to put the shot. Well, no, it was the right place. But he puts the needle in, and pretty soon I'm jumping out of my chair. He goes, oh, I forgot to tell you, this will hurt. And he also forgot to tell me that it's going to hurt for the next 24 to 48 hours. So that meant this morning I'm not able to get up and do my hair like I normally do. Getting dressed was a challenge. All these little things that you take for granted, which even though my thumbs were hurting before, I could still do. Well, the nice thing is my left thumb, it did help it. So some of the things I could do with this hand, but some things that you need two hands for, such as styling your hair. So I apologize for that. If I drop things today, I apologize for that because, it's hard to hold on to things when your thumbs aren't working. Okay, so just a little bit of a heads up with all that. And because, you guys have to know everything about my life. Because I have to share it. Anyways, where you can find me, I'm going to start putting this at the beginning, but then running the card at the end. So on Ravelry, you can find me as Napier's Knits. And then the podcast group is Naturally Kim's Knitting. On Twitter, at KSNapier475. Instagram, I'm knittin_Kim. YouTube, Naturally Kim's Knitting or Kimberly Napier. WordPress, naturallykimsknitting.wordpress.com. And Blogger, Naturally Kim's Knitting. So you can find me at any and all those places. You're always welcome to leave a note or a comment at any of those places also. Well, today is April 13th, and this is episode 11. Double ones! Yay! I just, I can't help but to be a little bit goofy. I love doing this, and I hope you guys get as little bit of joy out of it as I do. This is enough. We had a beautiful day yesterday. We had some rotten weather earlier, but yesterday was a beautiful day. Today looks like a beautiful day. I want to get out there and garden, but I don't think I'm going to be able to hold my tools. So, oh well. But it's supposed to be nice, clear through the weekend, so yay, so excited. Okay, I'm going to take a break, come right back, and we'll talk about what's on my needles. Okay. Okay, this is the part where I talk about what is on my needles, what I am currently working on. And I have about the same things I had on my needles last week, with just a couple little exceptions. But that's okay, because I've made progress on most of them. First of all, this is why I say most of them. If you remember the katabira, from Knit Kimono's 2 book that I was making for my daughter, and I was to the point where I was finishing up the sleeves last week, and I was getting ready to do the edgings on the sleeves. And it says to go to your smaller needles, and I hadn't been paying attention. I'd been using my smaller needles from the beginning. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. When my husband came home that night, I said, I had to rip the whole thing out and start over. So, the nice thing is, before I just kept thinking this thing's going to have to stretch, it's going to have to stretch, and being lace, it does stretch, but still, wasn't convinced it's going to be enough. This is a lot better. This is going to, even without stretching a whole lot, that's going to fit her so much better. This is the back. Ouch. Sorry. You're going to hear ouches once in a while. Maybe that's what I would call this. Ouchie, ouchie. This is the back. I probably have, 7 or 8 more inches to go on it. It is a kimono type sweater. In fact, it's the one that's on the cover of Knit Kimonos too. Only mine might end up being just a tad bit longer. She does like longer sweaters, and so I got extra yarn so I could do that. So it might be just a tad bit longer. So there's that. So sorry, you're still going to have to follow the progress of this as I go along. As I say, I go to pick things up with that hand, and I know I'm going to pay for it later. Okay, now, I am also still working on my sock. I didn't bring it over, did I? Nope, I didn't bring it over. Oh, yes, I did. Here it goes. Okay, from my my Gale's art sock from the Lady Sings the Blue, other than weaving in my ends, I finished one sock. Can't get the whole thing in there. I finished one sock. This is from Cece's French Vanilla Cappuccino socks that she is now selling on her Java Pearl designs. And I said I'd gotten the book, and I'm going to start working from the front to the back. Right now I'm working on 2 French vanilla socks, so it will be the next sock after this one. And then I cast on the next toe, and I've made it that far. Unfortunately, luckily these are for me, because I was trying to work on these yesterday, which is another reason why my thumb is probably still so sore today. Because I can't sit still and not knit. I just can't do that. So I was sitting there trying to work on that last night, and I just kept thinking, oh well, if my gauge is slightly off, at least it's for me. I'm not going to be so worried. So then that was, like I said, from Gale's Art Sock, Lady Sings the Blue. I used US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. My show notes are over to the side, so if you see me looking over there, that's why. And then I have another pair of Cece's French Vanilla Cappuccino socks. And these are the pair that I had to start because because I like to be working on socks when I'm volunteering at the church, because these are supposed to be for the soup kitchen, for the soup kitchen, or the men's rescue, but I'd have these would be for the soup kitchen. And I need to put a progress marker on these, because you can't tell how far I made it last week. I still don't get my camera things right. Sorry, guys. So I finished the heel, and I'm starting on the cuff. I may or may not get these worked on some more before Sunday. I'm in the office every Sunday this month, so if it takes me a month to get this pair done, that's okay. My goal was to get 12 pairs done for them this year, and if I only get a pair done a month, that's 12 pairs. So that's not too bad. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm also working on this is if I get my other things done in the day and I have extra time, usually it's a date night thing because my husband and I will watch a video and I'll knit. So this is my 10-stitch blanket from Frankie's Knitted Stuff. Just leftover sock yarns I've had. I'm going to be having some bright colors in here before long. But being that it's basically scrap yarn, I wanted to get all the way over to here. You can see I'm a little short before the podcast today, but with my thumb and everything, I wasn't able to. So I would love to get another whole stripe done next week. But if I only get if I get one stripe done, I'll be happy. If I got 1.5, I'll be even more happy. These are worked, like I said, on various knit pick yarns that I've gotten over the years. And being that it's sock yarn, I'm using US 3 3.0 millimeter and various knit pick yarn. Frankie's Knitted Stuff is one of his 10-stitch blankets. He has several 10-stitch designs, or Frankie has several 1-stitch designs. So it's fun and they're free. So check them out. Let's see, what's my next thing? Oh, child Chemo cap. I do have one that I cast on to show you guys this week. Yay! I'm trying to make this one just a little bit smaller by casting on fewer stitches. This is made in the, as you can see, it's top down. Top down, top down, top down. Oh, I had a good representation of the color there for a second. Nope, not going to do it. Because this is Get Your Neon colorway from Knit Picks Chroma worsted weight yarn. I work these. I gotta make sure I know the size needle, but it's when you get to the millimeters, I have trouble sometimes. US 6 4.5 millimeter, and this is the yarn. Only imagine it all neon colors, and I'm going to work this whole hat in this yarn. I'm not doing any color changes in this one. When I get something like this, I like to make at least one hat out of that color completely, and then I'll, change things up a little bit. And finally, last but not least, which this is not going to be on my show notes, excuse me. Sorry for reaching out of the camera there, because this is my design. Like I said, this is I said last week, this is a salute to my mother. I want to try to do something like this for my family members. And this one, I came up with 3 colors and different stitches that all relate to my story with my mother. I wish my camera were better representing these colors. Maybe if I get them, I have a light over here, maybe if I get them all over there, it's better. But these are all from, these are Tofutsi from Southwest Trading Company. Tofutsi, 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 Tofutsi. Okay, so I will show you the design after I actually get it published. If you know of anybody who would like to pattern test a shawl or a wrap type of thing, have them get in touch with me. Ouch, because I would really like to have some assistance there. Okay, I think that about covers what's on my needles. Now we're going to go to the finished objects, which aren't nearly as many. But okay, so I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so this section, finished projects, is going to be short and sweet. But that's okay. Like I said, I have a lot of things in progress. I'm not sure how much knitting I'm going to be able to get done today. I'm going to have to numb the thumb up in order to do it, which means I pay for it later. But I basically have 2 things that are finished projects, and one of them is knitting. And I'm not crazy about this child's Chemo cap. I'm hoping there's a child out there that likes it better than I do. I started off with that Get Your Neon in Chroma worsted. Then I went to just a plain yellow, but it wasn't in the colorway or color pathway where it actually blended with the hat well enough. And so then I finished it also with the Get Your Chroma. And I'm not sure if I like that blending, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send it off to them. And hopefully there'll be a child that likes it. It is still very, very soft. And it's still going to be a blessing. I laugh because we were Skyping with my granddaughter last night. And we were just being silly. She was being silly with us, so we were being silly right back. I told my husband, here, plop it on your head. So he did. That's my husband. That's why we're so good together. I egg him on, and he's extremely goofy. Now, the other thing is not a knitting project, but as you know, I also like to do natural things. And I used to make glycerin soaps, all the time. And I decided to do it again. And I had some lavender. I feel a sneeze coming on. Excuse me. I had some lavender left over. Now, I didn't quite do it. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done it. Most of my lavender is at the bottom of the soap. But some of it did float. Sorry. And there we go. And I just put a mild lavender scent in it. And with that lavender I put in it, it's just kind of nice. And even if with the lavender that sunk to the bottom, I used a bar of it last night. And it's almost like a mild exfoliant. So I made 4 bars of that. Ought to last me a little while. If you know of anybody who might want some glycerin soaps, different scents or whatever, let me know. I might be able to do something. I don't charge much. But let me know, because, yeah, I love these. And I have lots of different fragrances. Lavender is one of the scents that relaxes me. So if I'm tense and I use lavender at night, oh. Peppermint is one that perks me up. I used to, when I taught and we'd have testing time, I would tell the kids, or I would give the kids peppermint candies to suck on because they fire the synapses in your brain. And whether it actually helps or not, it gave the kids confidence that, oh, we're going to do better because we're sucking on peppermints, which, you know, they'd already learned about synapses and all this. So, you know, peppermint is my wake me up and get thinking aroma. Okay, well, that's all my finished objects. I'm sorry, I keep banging on the desk. I'm sorry about that if you hear that. So I guess I'm going to talk about things that make me happy this week. So, okay, I'll be right back. So you may come up to me and say, well, Kim, what's been making you so happy this week? Well, number one, the weather yesterday and today. When that sun shines, it's easier for me to light up. Even if I'm hurting, it doesn't matter. The sun helps me. I may even go outside for a little while today and do some reading or something because that's what this weather makes me do. It's beautiful out. In fact, the only reason I have a sweater on is because the top I have on isn't one of my favorites, and I just thought I'd put a sweater over it for today. But, oh, it's gorgeous, and there's just a slight breeze. In fact, we went to the doctor yesterday, and my husband goes, you going to wear a jacket? And he goes, it's really nice. I said, maybe I won't. So that makes me happy. And then when I took the dog for a walk yesterday, I love seeing my bees, or my husband's bees, making my honey, buzzing around out there, which I need some of their honey before long. I know another thing that makes me happy is my Whole30, and honey is not part of Whole30, but it does help my allergies. If you just put a teaspoon of it in a cup of tea a day, if it's honey from your own area, it will help you fight or build up your own immunities to the things that are in your area. And see, my nose is itching, the allergy salute. So I can't wait till, and it probably won't be till next fall till we get a harvest. But that's okay. So the bees, seeing them do their little looking for honey dance out there, and then this weather, oh, those are 2 major, major things that made me happy. Another thing, anytime I get a yarn shipment, I decided that when I make my socks for the soup kitchen, sorry for the crinkling, I'm just going to use plain colored yarn for them more often than not, because I want them to like them, and not everybody likes my self-striping yarns that I use. So I went to Knit Picks, my go-to place. I mean, I do buy from Etsy and places like that too, but you know, if I know I'm going to order a few skeins of different colors or whatever, Knit Picks is just someplace I like to go to. So I got some of their comfy fingering yarn. This one, let's see if I can get it. It's called Marlin, and it's greener than that. That makes it look like a blue. Marlin, of course, you would think it would be a greenish. Then I also got, which this one was a disappointment. Well, Planetarium. I guess that would be Night Sky. Because that is your blue. That's your Night Sky blue. I got Doe, which I've worked with Doe before, and I like the way it works up. And I got Parchment. So that'll give me a nice little start for working on, after I get the pair of socks done that I'm working on for the soup kitchens and the men's rescue. I'm hoping that maybe 3 of these will go to the men's rescue, and then the 4th one might go to the soup kitchen for women or children. So that made me very happy when I got that. Then, like I mentioned, my Whole 30. I've been liking the way I've been feeling, and overall, I've been sleeping better. Last night, of course, it had nothing to do with Whole 30. I've not been hungry, really, other than at meal times. And if I do want something to munch on, I'm watching the shadows of the leaves on my books, I'm sorry. I usually just grab a couple cashews or a couple almonds. And just a couple, and that's all I need. So, I love Whole 30. In fact, I said last week how, oh no, I'm going to fall short on my Whole 30 because I'm going out with a girlfriend tomorrow for lunch. And I was figuring it out, and I'm 1 day short. But I'd already told my husband, I think I'm going to go for another 30. I might modify it just a little bit. I don't know. I have to think, because I'm not sure what way I would not modify it, but I'll let you know more about that later. But overall, I want to stick with the Whole 30. So, and he's agreeing with it. So, oh, I know what I might change, is I might add grains, only because I do miss my oatmeal in the morning. So I might go back to my steel cut oatmeal that I was having in the morning. I do miss that, and it does keep me satisfied. I'm not supposed to have too many eggs because I am borderline cholesterol, and I have, so it's just, oatmeal is like one of the best things. It's good for your heart and, all this. So that would probably be my modification for next month. But otherwise, I'm sticking with the rest of it for the 30 days, and I'm going to see how I feel. And if I continue feeling good, this might be a way of life. I keep telling people, it's not a diet so much as wanting to lose weight diet. It's a lifestyle, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, okay, I am going to stop this part of the episode and just talk a little bit about what I've been reading, watching, and listening to. I will give you a spoiler warning right now. I'm going to be talking about Once Upon a Time, Grantchester, and probably Mr. Selfridge. I don't have that in the show notes, but probably. So, okay, when I come back, it'll be what I've been reading, watching, and listening to. Okay, there's been a few shows this week that I've watched that I really enjoy watching. Okay, Once Upon a Time, I like sections of it. And this season hasn't been a favorite of mine, but still, I've been watching it. This week was Gaston's story. If you ever saw Beauty and the Beast, the Disney movie, Gaston was the kind of conceited, the guy hung up on himself, chaser of Belle. Well, in this story, they were to get married to merge 2 kingdoms together in this background story. But Gaston ended up not having a happily ever after, because Hades had made a deal with Belle that she could keep the baby if either Gaston pushed Rumpel or Rumpel pushed Gaston into the river of something souls, where they basically will suffer forever. And she had basically told Rumpel that yes, she loves him, and she doesn't mind if he would use his magic, but he has to make it light magic, not dark magic. So she was kind of putting him at a disadvantage because Hades had made a special arrow for Gaston to shoot at Rumpel that would do him in. And so she went up to Rumpel as the fight was beginning, as she stepped between the two men, and she told him how she loved him and all this, but she couldn't trust him, and she pulls his dagger out, which has his name on it, which controls the Dark One, and she says, "You are not allowed to harm Gaston." Well, so Gaston pulled the arrow, and as he gets ready to shoot it, Belle knocks him into the river, knocks Gaston into the river. So this is our first not happily ever after story that we've had this season, I believe. Which makes Hades happy because hope was starting to come to the underworld, and of course he doesn't like that. So, goodness. And everybody's still trying to figure out a way to defeat Hades. Okay, so I'm hoping that once they get out of the underworld, I'm hoping stories get better. I don't like darkness, and it just seems like so many stories this year have been dark. Grantchester, however, even though it's a murder mystery type thing, I like Grantchester. You gotta like Sydney. And Geordie. I mean, both of them. But this one, a boy, I call him a boy. He's younger than I am, of course, so, you know. This young man comes into the police station. Or no, he's praying in Sydney's church. And Sydney, you know, is talking with him, and the young man, has blood all over his hands, and he's talking about how he cut this man and killed him and all this. And so they took him into the police station and all this, and then they went to investigate, and the guy's still alive. Well, of course, you know the guy is doomed. So, yes, he did die before long, and they did figure out who did it. And it wasn't the young man. He didn't kill him. So, happy ending there. And I'll just mention in Mr. Selfridge, or in Selfridge's, that his life is going downhill. Which, if this is the last season and they're going to be realistic to his life, it needs to. So, okay, and the other reason why I haven't been watching a whole lot of stuff is, like I said last week, I've been watching Friends, and I'm on season 4, and in fact, I think I just finished season 4. So, it's, you know, Friends makes me smile. So, otherwise, I've not been able to read my Hobbit yet. Like I said, that's my gardening or spending time outside book, or thing to do. I like listening to audiobooks while I garden. And so I've not listened to any of the Hobbit yet. They're still, you know, they're still with the Eagles being saved right now. But I have started a book called Renata. Renata and the Fall from Grace. And this is by Becky Dowdy, I believe it is. I'm not real far into this book, but it's a good book. I will be reviewing it on my Reading, Writing, and So Much More, or on WordPress, my book reviews under my name. So if you want to find out what I thought about it at the end, and plus on Goodreads, I usually review them on Goodreads too. So if you want to find out what I'm thinking about those, oh, just a minute, I've got another book I'm reading. So some of my book reviews I get from an organization called the Christian Book Club Network. And there's one group in there where we get books either before they're released or right as they're released, and we're supposed to read them and then turn in reviews for the authors and the publishers. Well, they sent me this one. It's called Shaman's Fire. I didn't put it in the show notes. I need to. And part of the reason, okay, I requested this book. It sounded interesting. Anything that has to do with Native Americans intrigues me. My husband is like 132nd, I think it is, Cherokee, I think. I'm not sure of the tribe. Anyways, but I've always been interested in them anyways. But when I first started reading this, it says it's a modern-day suspense story of a young Native American woman who moves between two worlds, that of the ancient traditions of her people and that of the merging white world. Shaman's Fire is a story of choices and how the known world can change in an instant. A story of injustice, a story of heartbreak, a story of restoration. And when I first started reading it, okay, when I volunteer at the church on Sundays, there's a lot of downtime. So as long as I'm in the office to answer people's questions or whatever, and I'm not walking away from the desk or whatever, and there to answer the phone, that's that's what I do. But so in between, I read and knit. And I started this Sunday, and it's very good. It's going to be getting a good review from me. I'm not even that far into it, and I know it's going to get a good review. I did receive another book in the mail, which I love. Max Lucado. Max Lucado, The Gift for All People. I laugh because you can tell it's a new book. You open up the cover. That's all the further the book opens. And sometimes I will read a book, whether it's paperback or hardback, and then I'll resell them, or I'll give them on paperback swap. Well, Max Lucado books, I will not ever get rid of. Never. I have a box of them upstairs. He's just refreshing to my soul. His teachings have always touched my soul. And so, his books are refreshing to me, renewing to me. Yes, I'm a Christian, and I don't deny that at all. Anyways, so that's what I've been... Oh, no, I'm not done. I still have to tell you what podcasts. I've listened to a couple new podcasts this week. Hungry Cat podcast. She is such a cutie. I love the girl who does these podcasts. She's just so cute. And, of course, Hungry Cat podcast. She has a cat. And her cat is part of the podcast. So it's just so cool. And then I also listened to the Knitting Expat this week. I've watched her before, and I've really liked her. She covers so much. And she also has lessons separately from the podcast that she puts in. And her podcast I was trying to think if it was over an hour long or if it was just 54 minutes or what it was. But it just zipped by because I was intrigued by what she had to say. And then another one I just got turned on to by somebody else was The Dyer's Notebook. Oh my goodness, I want to start dyeing my own yarn. I would love to start getting some bases and dyeing them and just seeing what I can create. And she is so inspirational. Yes, she sells some things that she does, and I will get from her. But inspirational, and she'll answer your questions. She went to college, and this was part of her college education. I'm just... The Dyer's Notebook. So all three of these are very, very cute, or very, very nice, entertaining, educational podcasts. I would recommend them to anybody. And of course, there's my Geeky Girls podcast too, that I will always watch. They were late coming out last week, and I got concerned, but they made it out. So I think that's it this week. So right after this, you're going to see also a card of where I can be found, and otherwise, I hope everybody has a great week. Love you all. Sorry, I'll have to do it with this hand, I guess. I love you all. Hugs, take care, and happy knitting. Bye-bye.